Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to dig into something I think we all struggle with: productivity. But not just any productivity. We're talking about high impact productivity. It's all about how to stop just being busy and actually start making real, meaningful progress.
You know those days, right? You're just running. Back-to-back meetings, your email is exploding, your phone is buzzing nonstop. And then, at the end of the day, you finally sit down and you're like, wait, what did I actually do today? It's this super frustrating feeling, and honestly, it points to a massive problem in how we think about work. And this isn't a new problem. Henry David Thoreau nailed it when he said this. It's so true. Anyone can be busy. That's the easy part. But being busy about the right things, now that's the real trick. The thing is, just being active doesn't mean you're achieving anything. So today, let's unpack why that is. And that brings us to our first big idea here, what's called the busyness trap. It's this weird thing where we feel a need to look busy. And believe it or not, there's actually some science behind why we do this, even when it's totally unproductive. So researchers over at Harvard Business School actually put a name to this. They found that somewhere along the way, we started treating busyness like a status symbol. Saying, oh, I'm just so swamped is like a weird badge of honor. It's our way of saying, hey, I'm important. But it's just a trap, right? It makes us confuse just spinning our wheels with actually moving forward.
Okay, so if just being busy is the wrong goal, then what's the right one? Well, the answer is hidden in this really powerful idea that helps us separate all that frantic activity from real results. You might have heard of it, the 80-20 rule.
It's officially called the Pareto principle, but most people just call it the 80-20 rule. And the idea is super simple, but also kind of mind-blowing. It says that for almost anything, about 80% of your results will come from just 20% of your effort. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. A tiny slice of what you do is responsible for almost everything you achieve.
So that little 20%, that's your high leverage stuff. It's the work that really punches above its weight, generating most of your impact. And that other 80% of your time, well, that's spent on stuff that barely moves the needle. So the secret to real productivity isn't doing more. It's figuring out what that 20% is and then protecting that time like your life depends on it.
Okay, but here's the catch. Before we can even get to that 20%, we got to unlearn some really bad habits. Our culture is just flooded with these so-called productivity hacks that are, let's be honest, just traps. So let's bust some of the biggest myths right now.
I'm sure you've heard all of these, right? You gotta work long hours to get ahead. You have to check your email constantly. Never miss a meeting. And the big one, multitasking is key. Well, the actual data tells a totally different story. Take the long hours thing. Research is super clear that after about 50 hours a week, your productivity just falls off a cliff. So no, more hours does not equal better work, at all. And oh my gosh, multitasking. We all think we're so good at it, right? But it's actually doing the opposite of what we think. Every single time you switch from one task to another, your brain has to stop and completely refocus. It costs you time, it costs you energy. In fact, studies show it can tank your efficiency by as much as 40%. It's not a skill, it's a massive productivity drain. All right, so we've torn down the myths. Now for the fun part. How do we actually start working smarter, not harder? I'm going to walk you through 5 solid, science-backed strategies to help you lock in on that crucial, high-impact 20%. So here's the 5-step system we're going to cover. It's identify, time block, eliminate, batch, and plan. And look, this isn't about adding more to your plate. It's a framework for using your energy way more strategically, putting it where it's going to have the biggest effect. Let's break down exactly what each one means. Step 1 is the foundation for everything. You have to know what your 20% actually is. So ask yourself, what are the 2 or 3 things that, if I just focused on those, would create the biggest results in my job? If you're in sales, it's probably building relationships with clients. If you're a coder, it's shipping clean code. You've got to figure that out first, because everything else is just noise. Okay, once you know what those high-impact tasks are, you have to make time for them. It's that simple. There's cool research from UC Irvine that shows if you actually schedule something on your calendar, you are way, way more likely to get it done. So go into your calendar, book a 90-minute focus session, and then treat that block of time like it's the most important meeting of your week, because it is. Now, this next one is absolutely crucial, and it might feel a little weird at first. High performers, the truly productive people, are defined not by what they do, but by what they say no to. So look at your to-do list, and for every single item, ask yourself two things. First, does this even need to be done? And second, if it does, do I have to be the one to do it? You have to be ruthless here. The most productive people are masters of saying no. All right, this one is a total game changer, and it's so simple. It's called batching. Instead of checking your email every 5 minutes, which we all do, just don't. Batch it. Handle all your emails at once, say at 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. That's it. When you group similar tasks together, like making all your phone calls back to back, you avoid that mental cost of switching gears all the time. It makes you so much more efficient. And last but not least, step 5. At the end of every single workday, take 5 minutes to plan for tomorrow. Just write down your top 3 priorities for the next day. There's this cool psychological thing called the Zeigarnik effect, which basically means your brain keeps chewing on unfinished tasks in the background. So by writing them down, you're telling your subconscious to get to work. You'll wake up with way more clarity and feel a lot less stressed in the morning. So when you start putting all these pieces together, you'll see it's not just a list of tips and tricks. It's a whole new way of thinking about work. It's a fundamental shift from trying to win the who's busiest competition to competing on what actually matters, your impact. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about jamming more and more stuff into your schedule. It's about doing the right things and doing them really, really well. It's about clearing out the clutter so you have the space and the focus for the work that actually matters. That's what high-impact productivity is all about. And this all leads to a really wild, counterintuitive idea. We're all taught that a full calendar means you're important, right? But the real goal is to empty your calendar. Seriously, empty it of all the junk, all the noise, so that you have wide open space for the signal, the work that actually creates value. So I want to leave you with a question, a challenge, really. After hearing all this, what's the one thing you can remove from your life? What's one low-value task, one pointless recurring meeting, one bad habit you can just eliminate starting tomorrow? Figuring that out, that's your very first step. Thanks so much for joining us.